A perfect day for Clark. She led the Hawkeyes to 2 national championship game appearances and remains the NCAA's all-time leading scorer.
And having to quickly become and form an identity and become that successful team.
Even after 2 in the morning, the lights in the Team USA facility were still on, long after everyone was expected to go. Within, coaches' faces were tight with anxiety as they huddled in tense whispers. On that court, something unexpected had occurred. The team's hierarchy was rocked by an unexpected play. In a matter of minutes, Caitlin Clark, who had been silent up until now, had changed the power dynamic.
Comes Clark. How will she go for history? There it is! The all-time leading scorer.
Veteran authority, weeks of preparation, and even the well-organized drills felt brittle all of a sudden. We must go back months to the arguments, rejections, and off-season decisions that molded Clark's path in order to comprehend why the room fell silent in shock. She wasn't a rookie when she came at camp. Rather, she was a force prepared to take on the system. And the events of that scrimmage made Team USA doubt everything. Stay tuned because we're going to provide the information that was leaked and wasn't intended for anyone outside of that gym to view, violating the playbook. The ordinarily serene hallways of Team USA's training facilities took on an unexpected intensity long after midnight. The campus was quiet outside, with the wind rustling through the trees. However, the interior was filled with murmuring and blazing lights. Some coaches were pacing, while others were huddled in close quarters and discussing what had just transpired in silence. The schedule did not include this. There had been no indication or warning that a routine practice session would turn into a full-fledged emergency meeting. The typical sounds of basketballs bouncing, sneakers squeaking on shiny floors, and coaches yelling drills had filled the gym minutes before. However, something changed after that. After being composed and attentive for the majority of the session, Caitlin Clark abruptly did something that nobody anticipated.
This is one thing you get with Clark is great pace and great passes. Found Boston perfectly.
She quickly deconstructed plays, outwitted seasoned defenders, and forced a hush that seemed heavier than any strategy talk or timeout. Stunned astonishment replaced the organized pandemonium in the room. We need to go back a few months in order to completely understand why this particular occasion caused panic. Clark's exclusion from the starting lineup following the 2024 Olympics was a contentious move that sparked discussions in sporting circles. Fans contended she had earned her spot years ago, while detractors questioned if her approach to international basketball was mature enough. Clark refrained from making a public response. Rather, she went silent and spent months honing her decision-making, strength, and quickness both on and off the court. She had changed since being cut from the roster by the time she got back to camp. She was more adept, quicker, and ready to take on the established hierarchy that had ruled Team USA basketball for many years. In the present, the events that had just transpired in the gym directly led to the emergency meeting. As they pieced together what had transpired, coaches and staff were attempting to control their disbelief. Insider reports indicate that head coach Cheryl Reeve recognized her right away.
I'm pleased and proud to announce that Cheryl Reeve is named our USA Basketball Women's National Team coach.
Conventional approaches were ineffective. The method she had been using for years, the organized exercises, the experienced strict rotation and scrimmages had failed to keep the floor under control. They were up against more than just a gifted player in Clark. They were up against a force that could instantly reveal their shortcomings. Normally unflinching veterans like Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi are said to have been motionless during the incident that led to the meeting. Their authority, years of experience, and even their well-developed instincts were unable to foresee or stop what Clark was doing. The hush was overwhelming by the time the scrimmage was over. Nobody knew whether to applaud, criticize, or just take in the scope of what had just happened. There was no small problem or straightforward coaching modification that prompted the emergency meeting. According to people with knowledge of the facility, it was a realization that the team's previous playbook was insufficient. The leadership had to choose how to incorporate a player who was not just taking part but also changing the game. Every minute spent in that conference room was significant. The future roster choices, training methods, and even the chemistry of players who had adhered to traditional hierarchies for years may all be impacted by every word said or kept silent. By now, there was more going on in the conference room and gym than just basketball. Generations, ideologies, and expectations clashed. The younger players who were observing from the sidelines were able to witness the change. A player who moved immediately, forcefully, and without hesitation confronted the veterans who had depended on seniority and organization. T was an obvious message. The previous regulations would no longer be in effect. Additionally, the leadership of Team USA had to learn how to quickly adjust.
It's all about being inside of this safe, clean site where all 12 teams here.
Adding yet another level of intricacy, corporate according to reports, stakeholders like Nike, who make significant investments in both the team and individual athletes, were keeping a careful eye on the issue. Sponsorships, merchandising, and the public's opinion of Team USA might all be impacted by Clark's growing notoriety and unquestionable influence. T wasn't merely an athletic challenge that took place. It was a financial and strategic conundrum. Every choice taken during that urgent meeting affected the basketball community worldwide in addition to the facility. The ascent of Caitlin Clark from outcast to powerhouse. That emergency meeting in the gym is not where the tale of Caitlin Clark's ascent begins. The pain of being ignored is where it all begins. Her exclusion from Team USA's starting lineup following the 2024 Olympics stunned supporters and sparked internet discussions. Despite her talent, critics said she wasn't prepared for global supremacy. That she required additional time and seasoning. This could have been devastating for a player accustomed to taking the lead. However, Clark made a different decision. She vanished from the public eye rather than snapping or stealing the show in interviews. Pay attention. She concentrated solely on preparedness, avoiding ostentatious leagues and viral pronouncements. She proved herself during the 2025 WNBA season with the Indiana Fever. She worked on her strength, endurance, and efficiency game after game. She was developing rather than merely having fun. Her shoots were crisper, her passes were faster, and her decision-making was much better than many would have predicted for someone her age, according to observers. It was more than just physical development. Clark had studied the strategies, rotations, and defensive formations used by Team USA for months. She discovered ways to take use of what the veterans had learned over years of training. She wasn't a rookie returning for redemption by the time she arrived back at the Team USA camp in December. She was a player, a competitor, and a strategy who had changed into someone who could question the status quo. According to several insiders, her off-season training was the true turning moment. Clark placed more emphasis on conditioning, mental preparation, and tactical research than other players did on exposure and endorsements. She developed her three-point shooting and worked on endurance so she could outlast seasoned defenders.
Caitlin Clark, she is the greatest scorer college basketball has ever seen.
Making her dangerous even from unanticipated directions. Every action was planned. Each and every the choice was made with the intention of making her unstoppable within the same system that had excluded her months before. Those who had questioned her were beginning to notice changes by the first day of camp. Even seasoned athletes were unnerved by Clark's calm focus as he progressed through drills. On the court, she exercised modest but firm leadership. The scrimmage's flow was altered by her presence. Veterans who were supposed to mentor newcomers increasingly found themselves responding rather than leading. The normally steady and controlled energy in the gym felt erratic and tense. The rise was psychological as well as athletic. Clark had acquired self-control and patience. She recognized the importance of planning above feeling. She had gained something that the veterans could not match by remaining mute in the media, avoiding controversy, and concentrating only on growth. Authority over her own narrative. When she eventually returned to the USA team's court, she did so as a player who had gained respect via quiet perseverance and performance rather than as a player looking for acceptance. The pandemonium that would occur during that late-night session was set in motion by her transformation from a snub to a dominator. Every drill mastered, every play watched, and every talent refined laid the groundwork for what coaches would later refer to as a moment of reckoning. Clark's ascent wasn't abrupt. It was intentional, unrelenting, and unstoppable. Team USA began to doubt all of their preconceived notions about talent management as a result. Team USA was shaken by the jersey. Everyone anticipated regularity when the players arrived for Team USA camp. Warm-ups, regular drills, and equipment distribution. Nothing out of the ordinary. However, a single element subtly established the framework for a habit that would go down in history. The jersey of Caitlin Clark. Her number 22 had been more than just a number for years. It was who she was. Fans were able to identify it as a symbol of the power she had gained on each court she entered. Merchandise flew off shelves. However, Number 22 was missing when Clark unlocked her locker. Rather, she discovered that number 17 was waiting. This may seem insignificant to the uninformed observer. You do realize that numbers are just numbers.
School officially retired Caitlin Clark's jersey in front of a packed crowd at Carver Hawkeye Arena, making her just the third Hawkeye to have their number retired.
However, symbols are important in competitive sports. 22 wasn't merely a personal favorite. It stood for status, leadership, and Clark's impact on basketball culture. The staff and veterans subtly reminded them to change it. You're simply another player here. Fit where we tell you. Observe the system. Don't expect to take the lead. Clark did not respond in the manner that some may have. There were no demands to go back, no dramatic social media posts, and no complaints. She went onto the court after picking up the jersey and putting it on. However, observers saw a change. She was suddenly more focused and determined than she had been before entering the dressing room. It seemed as though the slight effort to downplay her simply made her more noticeable. Her impact on the floor would speak louder than any symbol could, thus the number became meaningless. Veterans whispered to one another within the gym. Could a player with Clark's skill level truly be impacted by one number? Yes, it seems. It was instantly apparent in the initial drills. Even the most seasoned players were unnerved by Clark's precise, anticipatory, and quiet intensity. She wasn't merely taking part. She was taking charge and using what was supposed to be a slight as inspiration. Every drive, pass, and defensive read had a subliminal message. I can't be stopped by anything. The tone for the ensuing emergency meeting was established by that little number swap. Instead of humbling her, a symbolic gesture revealed weaknesses in the team's hierarchy. Coaches came to the conclusion that using the standard techniques to control Clark would not be effective. Suddenly, the system that had led Team USA for decades appeared to be unstable. Even though the number 17 was supposed to make her less noticeable, by the end of the scrimmage, it had lost all significance. A small event had become evidence of Clark's uncontrollable game and mindset. Clark and the system. Chaos for 37 seconds. There was a lot of anxiety in the gym. Both veterans and coaches were keeping a careful eye on the game, anticipating the customary controlled scrimmage. The younger players were anxious and didn't know how to make an impression on the seasoned pros. Then, for 37 seconds, something happened that would alter the practice's trajectory and make everyone doubt the established order.
31 feet! It's good!
Using their expertise and skills, the veterans had just scored a difficult basket inside cooperation. They were confident that the next possession would follow the well-known pattern and felt in control. Clark would strive to fit into the established system, wait for instructions, then slowly raise the ball. Clark, however, had different ideas. She accelerated as soon as she got the inbound pass. Never hesitate or turn to the sidelines. She was past half court after 3 dribbles. A senior defender who had a reputation for stopping the top scorers was a little off balance. Appreciating her speed but not anticipating what would happen next, many would have considered Clark's 30-foot pull-up to be irresponsible. Through the net, the ball swished. There was a pause, but Clark continued. The veterans attempted to force the ball inside once more on the subsequent possession. Clark read the defense like a textbook and anticipated it flawlessly. She quickly started a fast break after stealing the pass. Expecting the clever move to be a pass or a foul, 2 defenders pursued her. Rather, she made another deep shot after stopping at the 3-point line. The third play was considerably more disturbing. For years, novices had been frustrated by the veterans' approach of sending 2 defenders at her as a trap. Clark remained calm. She divided the defenders with a behind-the-back dribble, causing them to collide. She made her third straight 3-pointer without faltering. 3 possessions, 9 points, and 37 seconds. The gym fell silent.
Clark with 9 points in 42 seconds. Yes, you heard that right. Fever climbed back.
On the bench, the guys froze. Coaches spoke to one another in urgent whispers. In less than a minute, the old system, the organized rotations, the seasoned hierarchy, and the meticulously managed offense had all been revealed. Clark was doing more than just scoring. In real time, she was rewriting the playbook. Veterans who are often outspoken and demanding, like Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, appeared temporarily helpless. According to reports, Bird leaned over to an aide and said 4 words that summed up the circumstances. Everything was broken by her. It was an obvious message. There was more to this than just a scoring run. It demonstrated the limitations of the team's dependence on structure over intuition. It served as a warning and a lesson for the younger players. Years of tradition could be overturned by skill and planning. It was a conundrum for the coaching staff. Controlling Clark at this point would not improve the team. Rather, it would make things worse. It was also confirmation for Clark. Silent, accurate, and unstoppable. In addition to proving herself on the court, she had indicated that the time of waiting for her turn was coming to an end. Team USA was altered by that meeting. When practice concluded, the echoes of those 37 seconds persisted. They trailed the athletes, coaches, and employees into the silent corridors of Team USA's headquarters.
Bodies inside, Aaliyah Boston. How good is Aaliyah?
Where a meeting for an emergency was already underway. The head, Cheryl Ree coach, sat in the middle with a look of urgency and frustration on her face. The customary post-practice debrief had grown significantly. Leadership became aware for the first time that a single player was undermining their hierarchy, structure, and seniority-based system. Cracks that had always existed but had never been thoroughly examined were revealed by Clark's performance. Veterans who had previously relied on control and experience now had to make quick adjustments. According to insiders, Sue Bird, who is typically calm and analytical, acknowledged in the discussion that conventional methods might no longer be effective. According to reports, formidable competitor Diana Desai sat silently, taking in the reality that her impact on the floor was being eclipsed. There was only the silent recognition that a change had occurred, no yelling or scolding. The ramifications went beyond the gym right away. In addition to figuring out how to play Clark well, Team USA also had to think about how to construct the squad and coaching approach around her. All of a sudden, future choices, rotations, and even minutes were up for discussion. As younger players marveled at Clark, they started to see an example of success that didn't require them to wait their time. The impact of Clark's training methods, perseverance, and moment-seizing skills went much beyond a single exercise, and corporate influence added an additional layer of intricacy. Nike and other sponsors had made significant investments in Clark after realizing her as the face of women's basketball. The administration of the squad was aware that putting her on the sidelines, limiting her time, or trying to humble her once more could have negative effects on her finances and reputation. Clark was more than a performer. She was a symbol, a brand, and now a catalyst for the future of the sport. One important question was allegedly the main focus of the impromptu meeting: how to integrate Clark without disrupting the team's harmony. The elder guard of coaches had to strike a balance between acknowledging Clark's apparent brilliance and showing respect for veterans. They had to make a decision: clinging to outdated practices or adjusting to the fact that their system had to change. According to sources, the debate was heated and featured strong viewpoints on both sides, emphasizing the difficulty of upholding Team USA's history while embracing a new era. The 2020 Sudex World Cup in Berlin is a major event in the future. Team USA cannot afford hesitation or internal strife since rivals like France and Australia are skilled and well prepared. Although Clark's ability to control games in novel ways gives him a competitive advantage, it also necessitates adaptability from teammates and coaches. Head up, Caitlin Clark. Only the speed. Get it? The roster might change. It's possible to revise strategies and even change how the team views leadership. This presents both a challenge and an opportunity for Clark. She has to maintain her game-changing presence while navigating a squad that values tradition, demands structure, and balances veteran authority. She has already set a high standard by suppressing detractors, demanding attention, and calling an emergency meeting. However, maintaining this domination while influencing Team USA basketball's future is the true test. That practice and the emergency meeting were significant turning points in many respects. Results are no longer assured to be determined by the hierarchy, the outdated playbooks, or the established techniques. Clark has demonstrated that anyone who is ready to take the initiative can possess leadership, talent, and vision. There is more to the aftermath than a single practice or game. It concerns Team USA's upcoming phase. In the future, talent, preparation, and bravery will determine the rules for a team that was previously defined by tradition. There is more to the proceedings at Team USA's camp than simply one session. They represent a watershed in the history of women's basketball. Based on her stats, she has the courage to make such a crucial shot. Caitlin Clark was more than simply a point scorer. She altered the hierarchy, question customs, and emphasize to everyone the importance of talent combined with preparedness. Veterans, coaches, and even sponsors now have to deal with a different reality. The future will not be determined by the outdated playbook. From now on, every choice will be impacted by her presence, expertise, and attitude. Supporters should anticipate a Team USA that is quicker, sharper, and more erratic. Her accomplishments in a single night are inspiring, educating, and observing the future generation of players. Everyone will be watching Clark and how the team adjusts to her as the 2026 World Cup draws near. This goes beyond basketball. It's a tale of fortitude, cunning, and the guts to question the status quo. Stay tuned because history is going to be made and the Caitlin Clark era is just getting started. History is being made.